Getting ready for bed at a regular time is one of the most important habits you can learn.
Who you gonna call?
Ghostbusters! Jason was my son, and today is his birthday.
Oh, Lori, scared another one away.
What's your favorite scary movie?
Sorry, Jack. Chucky's back.
We are counselors at Hackett's Quarry Summer Camp. There is a swarm of bears.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
I'm your boyfriend now, Nancy.
Glenn! No! Glenn!
Most people are so ungrateful to be alive, but not you.
It's showtime.
Hello, and welcome back to another fabulous, wonderful episode of the Screen Stream. Now, I know what y'all thinking. Amanda, you didn't show up last week, and I'm sorry about that. I totally spaced on the fact that it was fucking Thanksgiving holiday break, and completely forgot I had plans and shit, so instead of canceling my plans... Oh, there we go. Sorry about that. But instead of canceling my plans, I decided to, just go to Thanksgiving. Completely forgot to put that on the schedule, so that was my fucking bad, guys. My fucking bad. But, yes, like I said, welcome back to another fabulous, wonderful episode of the Scream Stream. We are on episode number 6, and on today's fabulous episode, we're starting our festive month of December with one of my favorite and all-time, I'm gonna be honest, my all-time favorite, kind of Christmas horror movie. It's Krampus from 2015. Hang on a second, let me grab my notes. Alright, a lot of people, funny enough, don't really know much about this movie. It came out kind of under the radar back in 2015. I want to say it was going up against Star Wars that same year. I could be wrong. I remember there's a movie that it was going up against, because I remember going to see that movie and seeing the poster for Krampus that same day. I just can't remember what movie it was. But yes, Krampus was made by Michael Daughter. Am I saying his name right? Probably not. I never say anybody's names right. But Michael, he's more well known for the infamous Trick or Treat movie, which I absolutely fucking love. That movie. It's one of my favorite movies, to be perfectly honest. It's got Adam Scott in it, Toni Collette, Allison Tolman, David, I'm probably going to say his name wrong, Kennerman, Koechner. I suck at pronouncing people's names, my bad, guys. But it's got a lot of well-known actors in this movie, and it's just one of my favorite Christmas movies to put on, because it is not a strict horror movie, I will say. Just like Trick or Treat, Michael makes it more of a black comedy in a way, where it's got more of a kind of a lot of jokes in there, but not like oversaturated, overly boring jokes, but it all fits. I'm gonna be honest though, I really wish they would have went full horror movie mode on it, because there are certain sections of this movie that would be so much better if it was actually a full-on horror movie. And don't get me wrong, we do get a lot of horror aspects of this movie, especially with the Christmas setting and all that. But let's go ahead and just dive straight on into this shit. Like I said, Krampus was made in 2015. It's a Christmas horror movie, and I always thought Christmas, to me personally, was, in a weird way, a good place to put horror movies. As weird as that sounds, the reason why I say that is because of the fact that I think a lot of, like, snowy, like, the scenery, like, in this movie, the snowy, like, lost my train of thought for a second. the snowy like background that we have, the ice, the oversaturation of just the blizzard going on, I think always makes a nice like horror backdrop. Because if you actually feel the coldness and the aloneness behind the scenery, and it really adds a bit of an unsettling factor with it. Especially the fact that, like I said, you feel very cold, and you don't want to feel cold in a horror movie. Granted, your blood's probably pumping like a motherfucker running around this damn cold, but you know, I don't think people really give too terribly shit whether or not they're cold when they're running for their lives. But I personally enjoyed the scenery of Christmas being set as a horror movie. I mean, look at Gremlins and Black Christmas, which are also two of the other movies I'll be talking about this month for our Christmas podcast. Woo! But the snowy backgrounds, the blizzard, the drizzling ice, the creepy snowman, the wrecked Christmas ornaments, the broken Christmas trees, it adds a very uneasy feeling to the movie because Christmas is supposed to be that time of joy and love and laughter and blah, 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 blah. We all know what Christmas is. We all know what Christmas stands for. And the fact that in a horror movie, that's all it's kind of taken away, it really adds kind of a unsettling downness to it, if that makes any sense. But something also that a lot of Christmas horror movies do that I actually particularly enjoy. I don't know what it is about Christmas music. Like, I'm talking about like Silent Night, you know, it's just the creepiness to it. For some reason, people have this weird ability to take Christmas music and just make it creepy. Just make it full-on fucking creepy. And I can appreciate that you can take such a joyful, beautiful song, you know, about the manger and about Jesus and about Santa Claus coming to town and all this other bullshit that we hear every Christmas, except for Mariah Carey. Thank God Mariah Carey's not in this. Like, I'm sorry to all you y'all Carey fans out there, but the point is, that song is overplayed, and you know what song I'm talking about. We all know the song I'm talking about. That song is so overly used, so overly played, it is fucking ridiculous. Which is why I can actually appreciate the opening. So let's dive on into a little bit about this movie. We start with the opening, which I find very ironic but funny because it's true to the statement of what Christmas is now. The opening of the movie literally takes place on Black Friday, which... it makes sense. Okay, it's not really Black Friday because it's like several days before Christmas, but it feels like Black Friday because they're like opening up the doors and people are like punching people to get presents and they're throwing things. Like, the entire opening is just pure fucking chaos, and the entire time this chaos is happening of like people beating the shit out of each other over a fucking stuffed bear, you got the song It's Beginning to Look Like Christmas playing. And I'm not sure which version of the song it is. I want to say it sounds like Michael Bublé's version to a degree, but I feel like I'm wrong. I feel like it might be the original It's Beginning to Look Like Christmas song, but I don't know. I usually listen to a lot of Michael Bublé around this time because I love his Christmas album. I'm not gonna lie, I love his Christmas album. But yeah, just the whole opening kind of sets the tone for what Christmas is nowadays, you know, after Thanksgiving. And this is why I never really could like Thanksgiving, is the fact that we're supposed to gather around this table, eat a whole bunch of food, tell each other why we're thankful to be in our lives, to literally within that next hour and or the next day, beat the shit out of each other for $20 off on a PlayStation 5. You know, it sadly fits, but luckily I can't really say nowadays because everything's gone digital and kind of online when it comes to Black Friday sales, so we don't really have to deal with the fucking chaos, the trampling over each other, the physical altercations, just for a couple of dollars off on something you really want for Christmas. But at the time when this movie came out, that was pretty much a big deal. Like, I want to say around that time, several incidents already occurred where people got trampled to death and got hurt and shit during Black Friday sales. So it really rang true. Unfortunately, I don't think it really rings true nowadays, but, you know, we can't be really too mad about that. But, like I said, the whole opening, you know, it's the whole chaos with Black Friday, and the song is beginning to look like Christmas playing, and then we cut over to the there's two halves of the family. Okay, so you got literally Tony Collette, Adam Scott, and their kids as one half of the family, and you got David and Allison Tolman as another half of the family. But in the opening, we focus mainly on Tony Collette and Adam Scott's family, where their son Max, who is played by MJ Anthony. I think that's how I say his name. I couldn't really find too much information on the kid who plays Max. I found a lot of information on a lot of these other actors. And a little side note real quick. Just looking up, the cast and some of their other filmographies they've done, I actually found out, and I didn't even know this until today, that Justin Roiland and Seth Green are in this movie. They apparently play Lumpy and Clumpy. I'm not sure which toys or evil elf or whoever they're supposed to be, but they're in this movie. And that blew my fucking mind to find out they were in this movie. And I'm now scouring this movie now to figure out which one's Lumpy, which one's Clumpy. I just gotta find out now at this point. I just gotta know. But, Adam Scott, he's more well known for a little Netflix movie I watched called Little Evil, a show I didn't really recognize. I didn't even write it down either, to be honest. And then weirdly enough, Hellraiser Bloodline, he was in that one. And of course, everybody knows Tony Collette, who's in the United States of Terror and Hereditary, which, I'm sorry guys, on another little side note real quick, I will never review Hereditary or whatever the fuck it's called. I've seen the movie. I'm in that small group of people who is just not impressed with that movie. I'm sorry, I didn't like the movie. It was a bore. It was a snooze fest. It put me to sleep. I'm sorry, I just didn't like it. But I digress. And of course, we know David from Anchorman. Allison Tolman, I actually know her from Castle Rock, which is that Stephen King TV show. Stephanie Owens, which I want to say she's related to Lola Owen, who plays Stevie. What's funny is that Stephanie Owens, she actually plays Beth. So I wonder if there's any kind of relationship or actual sibling connection there. But Stephanie, she's actually in The Lovely Bones, and it turns out Stevie, the Lola who plays Stevie, she was actually in a movie called The Cure. Which, funny enough, the guy who plays Krampus, Luke Hawker, he was also in that movie. Didn't know that either. Thought that was a really interesting fact. I didn't really find any information out, unfortunately, with the girl who played Jordan or Howie Jr. Or Chrissy or even Omi. I looked into Omi, the woman who played Omi, Krista Standler. I didn't recognize any of her filmography, to be perfectly honest. But everybody else, I really couldn't find any information on. But yeah, we're focusing on Adam Scott's family in the beginning of the movie. And once we cut to the Black Friday section, we get to this part where Max and his family are at this Christmas pageant thing or whatever. And Max is beating the shit out of some kid because he told the little kids that Santa Claus isn't real. And Max, being the cute little kid he is, has a big heart and a big spirit for Christmas. And you can see that throughout the beginning of the movie as we go on from the pageant to meeting the rest of the family. You basically learn that Max is... He knows Santa Claus isn't real, but he has that spirit and love for Christmas. And he still writes his letter to Santa Claus. He still cares very much. And unfortunately, it's like a sad factor with growing up. After a while, the Christmas spirit kind of dies out, which is sad, which is really sad. A lot of families try to keep those traditions and stuff, but there's some families, such as this family, that has led, I guess, their animosity between each other to just ruin Christmas. And the animosity is, frankly, Toni Collette's character, Sarah, and her side of the family, they're more well off, Looks like Andrew Scott's character, Tom, he, has a really good job. It looks like she spends hours, cleaning the house and taking care of business and taking care of the kids. And Allison Tolman and her family, they're kind of more the typical cousin rednecks that we all know. They live in a trailer. They're kind of crazy rednecks, carry guns. You know, we all have that family member who's the one we're really embarrassed to bring over for Christmas. Howie's that guy. Howie's that guy who you just don't invite to Christmas. But some reason they got to in this movie. But you see the animosity between, especially with the kids as well. Howie Jr. is not that bright, and he's kind of weird, to be honest. But he's not really the problem. The problem is Jordan and Stevie. They're kind of bitches. I'm not gonna lie, they're a bunch of fucking bitches. Like, they're making fun of Max because he believes in the Santa Claus, and then the whole dinner scene. Like, the whole dinner scene is where, again, Toni Collette's, you know, she's trying to keep everything together and be all happy, and it's Christmas, you know, and you can just tell that Jordan and Stevie are picking on Max, and they're trying to keep Max calm. And so, you know, mom walks out, the, you know, sister's trying to keep Max calm, and then the asshole siblings grab his letter and start reading it out loud. Which they really should have stopped after a certain moment. Granted, they shouldn't have done to begin with, but they really should have stopped. They really should have stopped because it embarrassed the kid. It honestly embarrassed him because of the fact that what he writes to Santa, and I think we all felt this as a kid, what we write to Santa was personal. Like, I remember writing letters to Santa when I was a kid. It was very personal. I didn't want no one to read it. I didn't want my mom to read it. Granted, my mom definitely read it. Like, we ain't all stupid. We all know that our parents somehow, like, magnified their way through that envelope or opened it when you weren't looking and read through it so they can get an idea what you want for Christmas. But one of the things I have to point out in the letter is the fact that he was very selfless in the whole letter. Like, he just said, I just want me and my sister to get along. I want my parents to get along. I wish Uncle Howard and his family were okay. Granted, though, we have the joke about Howard wishing that Stevie and Jordan were boys. But the point is, they read that letter out loud and embarrassed the hell out of Max. So, of course, he lashes out. And that was kind of like his final straw. He was just like, I can't deal with this shit anymore. You know, why do we put up... And he even asked a good question. He asked after he storms off and says, I hate y'all, I hate Christmas, I'm done with this shit, you know, I want it to be like what it used to be, and then storms the fuck off. And of course I have to give Aunt Dorothy credit here. I love me some Aunt Dorothy, by the way. Aunt Dorothy is one of my favorite characters in this movie because she just tells it how it is. She tells it how it is, but I'm sorry, all I can think about is, why? Let the kid run off. He deserves a medal for telling the truth. But, you know, once he gets up, you know, upstairs, you know, his dad comes to talk to him, and he's just like, why? Why do we got put up with these people because we share DNA? And that's a good question. A lot of families, you know, think that. Hell, I even have the thoughts about that. Like, why should I spend families with, holidays with family I don't give a shit about? Like, I even told that to my mom after a while. Like, we did it when I was a kid growing up, but I could just feel the animosity between a lot of the family members. And then just over the years, it dwindled and dwindled till there was very little family ever showing up, which to me was perfectly alright, because I didn't like half my fucking family. So I can get the conflict with Max, where he hates his family and he wants to give up on it, but his dad's words also ring true. Sometimes you have to put up with your family because it makes you work hard to find something you have in common. Now, there's a lot of times you're not going to find what you have in common with your family, but they're still your family. Sometimes blood is not thicker than water, though, but still, in this case, for the family movie moment, they really were pushing the fact that, yeah, you may be different, you may have disagreements with their family, you love each other anyway. And you can kind of sense that, you know, Max took what his dad said to heart, but I think he even said it as soon as his dad walks in, it gets worse and worse every year, and I think that's what kept crossing over his mind, to the point that he ends up tearing up the letter and thus summoning Krampus. Now, if I may add this one, because this is something that's always confused me about this movie. As much as I love this movie, I still have some little nitpicks about it, and this is one of the things. You're telling me, because one kid lost his little Christmas spirit, and so did Omi. We'll get to that section in a bit. But you're telling me this kid This one kid out of all the kids in this entire, I don't know, neighborhood, town, I don't know how far this power reaches out, but you're telling me this one fucking kid, got so upset and just stopped believing in Santa Claus to the point that Krampus had to fuck over the entire town. Is that exactly what you're telling me? What's up? Okay. But yeah, I never did get that about Krampus. It's just like, why does the rest of the town have to be punished for Max not believing in Santa Claus? Like, what did the town ever do? What did the UPS guy ever do? I'm just saying, what did Beth's boyfriend ever do? And that's what adds a little bit of the creepy factor is you really don't get to see a lot of bodies, but you know Krampus has been killing other people because you can see, especially when Howard and Tom go out to look for Beth at some point, that there's like a Christmas tree thrown through a window and like Beth's boyfriend's house, his chimney's all fucked up and shit. So you know Krampus has been going through this town fucking shit up. And I still want to know why. What did the rest of this town do? The poor town. I felt bad for this. Like, I felt bad for Max, but I felt bad for that town too. That town got the shit in that fucking stick. Like, one kid stopped believing in Santa Claus. Boom, Krampus kills all. But, at that point, though, this is when it starts getting a little bit more creepier and creepier as, you know, we get the opening, which all takes roughly about 20 minutes to get started, which is the introduction of the family, getting to know them, and what set off the events, which I really like. In the 20-minute opening, that's not bad. And then we get our first kind of creep factor, which is when Max wakes up and there's a pure fucking blizzard, all the lights are out, nothing's working, no phone's working, there's no cell service, you know, it's just a bad situation. 12 people stuck in a house with nothing to eat, no heat, and no running water. Like, that's just a fucking pain, to be honest. But what makes this scene kind of creepy is that when Max wakes up and looks out the window, there's a snowman. Now, there's something that confused me about the snowman. I always took the snowmen, because they pop up throughout the rest of the movie from this point on, where these snowmen, I'm assuming, represent, the family that died. I know when Beth died or disappeared, a snowman showed up. Same thing with Howard, or Howie Jr., I should say. That, these snowmen popped up. But what about this first snowman? And then I start thinking, do you think this first snowman was more of like the watcher for Krampus to keep an eye out on Max, make sure he didn't go anywhere? Or was that just somebody's already died, so this is the first snowman? Like someone died off screen, and this is our first body count. We just don't know about it. I never did get the snowman. I like the creepiness of the snowman. Like, each snowman was different and had his own design, and it was very, very creepy. Especially Beth's snowman, because it looked bent out of shape. Like, it was like the arms were like pulled up this way and his head was put down. It was like fucking creepy. There was actually a deleted scene. It was a very short deleted scene, but it was one of my favorite ones that I wish they would have kept in, because it really could have added a big fucking creep factor. But at one point they're walking from the house all together as a group, and we're looking at the snowman, and we just see the snowman slowly turn their heads. It's a subtle scare, but I liked it. But I understand why they didn't keep kept the time crunch and all that shit. But yeah, from that point on, we didn't get the whole situation with Beth going to go visit her boyfriend. Now, at first, when I first watched this movie, I could not understand for the life of me why the fuck these parents would let their kid go out in the middle of a fucking blizzard. And then it occurred to me watching it, I think my 4th or 5th time, why these idiot parents let their kids out. They weren't being idiots, they were just being logical. It's a blizzard, alright? Apparently where they live at, blizzards are common. Snow is common. It happens. So it's no big deal. The only reason why they're freaking out is because it came out of nowhere and there was no warning and they got 12 people stuck in this house. So I get when Beth was like, but I'm worried about my boyfriend. They were thinking, okay, we already got enough tension in the house, and having Beth over here kind of roll around in a fetal position going, my boyfriend, I need to check on him, would be very annoying. So, I mean, he only lives a few blocks away. I'm sure she's taken that road plenty of times before and probably even snuck out in the middle of the night, knowing a teenage girl. But she went out there, and what makes it, more understanding that they're not, too worried about her is because they don't realize what kind of bullshit and trouble is out there. Like, they just think it's a normal fucking blizzard. And hell, you as the audience thinks it's a weird blizzard for sure. But, not like a fucking, catastrophic blizzard. But they don't realize it's catastrophic. We find that out as soon as we come to Beth walking down the fucking street. Now, I'm going to say this.
And today is his
hands
birthday.
down, is one of my favorite. Oh shit, I didn't realize. I'm so sorry, guys. I didn't realize I started that again. I hit a button, and apparently I started my fucking intro. No intro. Bad intro. Bad fucking intro. I am so sorry about that. I'm having so much technical difficulties today. Not even funny. But, I don't know if y'all can hear me over the intro, but I'll repeat it again just in case. The thing with Beth walking down the street is the fact that it gets creepier and creepier as she walks through, which really adds an intense coolness to it, if that makes sense. The fact that, it's a little light outside, it's not that dark. She's walking through, it's kind of quiet, and then as the more she walks, the more you start seeing some of the houses covered in, like, pure ice. Not just cold, but ice. Just sickles, frozen doors, frozen windows, all that shenanigans, and you would think she would turn around and be like, this is kind of creepy, maybe Derek's alright, maybe Derek's cool. Maybe I'll check on Derek tomorrow. No, she keeps on going anyway. And this is where we come into my favorite scene of the entire movie. It's a very short scene, but it's one of my favorites because this shows the potential of, if this was a full-on horror movie, it really could have sold really well. Like, again, I don't mind that that's a little bit of a comedy horror. I'm not really a big fan of a lot of comedy horrors, but I like this one. And I believe that if they would have gone full horror, it would have been fucking awesome. But I kind of get why they didn't, because especially at that time, I think several Krampus movies were coming out that are all strictly horror that just didn't work. But the reason why I think this scene is one of the better scenes is the fact that, once Beth starts walking down that street, and like I said, you start seeing the scenery of the houses being covered more and more ice, it then gets darker. And then Beth just stops in the middle of the road and starts looking around, and that is when she sees our friend Krampus just chilling out on the roof, having his own fucking time of his life. He's just having a blast. He doesn't know what to do himself. And then she proceeds to fucking run for her life because Krampus starts chasing her. And what makes it a really cool chase scene is that he's hopping from roof to roof to get to her. He ain't just chasing behind her, but hopping roof to roof. And then she finds the fucking poor UPS guy just frozen in fear. Like, again, the poor people of this town, man. The poor fucking people. But the sound effects they have for Krampus, the music, the intense build up to it really works well. And then the fact that she gets underneath the car to hide from him, and he circles the car, which adds a bit of a tense factor because he knows she's there because he left her a little present after he left. Now, I will say, I did chuckle a little bit because when I watched this movie originally, it was on my phone at 3 a.m. and it was storming like a motherfucker in my house. So it's that scene scared the shit out of me, so I needed to laugh a little bit, to kind of calm myself down. And I couldn't help but notice every time Krampus walked around that van, he almost looked like a little supermodel. Just, one foot, another foot, one more, just yes. Like, he was walking around like a fucking supermodel, and that kind of made me chuckle a little bit, I'm not gonna lie. But then we continue on with the creep factor. After he leaves, we get our first toy that we end up seeing for the rest of the movie, the Jack-in-the-Box, which it starts off a little small and then it gets bigger by the end of the movie. But I'd say Krampus, who is played by Luke Harker, amazing fucking job in the prosthetic outfits that he had to wear. The practical effects they did for this movie was really, really good, especially a lot of the puppetry and the dark imagery they had. Very much appreciate the way they designed Krampus, personally. I have to say, though, the toys, hands down, have to be some of the more creepier aspects of Krampus, because he has, like, the evil Jack-in-the-Box, the evil teddy bear, robot, the angel on top of the tree. Like, he's got a lot of creepy sidekicks, man, and that shit's terrifying. Especially the way they design them. Like, they don't make them colorful and bright and beautiful. Like, they really dull out the colors for them, which is saying a lot because of the fact that the angel is wearing nothing but pure white, but somehow they still make that shit look fucking creepy as hell. But yes, once we get done, with the Jack-in-the-Box showing up and Beth disappears. Now, I don't know for a fact, because this is one of those interpreting the ending movies. So I can't tell you whether or not Beth dies in that scene or not. Like, she screams and she gets gobbled up, but I don't know if it's counted as a death or as a disappearance, because we technically don't see her again till the end of the movie. And that's what ends up happening to a lot of these characters. They end up disappearing, but we see, like, them disappearing. And again, I'll get to that in a little bit. But, let's see. As we go through the movie after Beth disappears, you'll start noticing Max's wishes from his letter start somewhat coming true. I wish Mom and Dad had time to fall back in love. And she actually she actually says that. She's like, I miss us. And she leans up against him. And in some ways, she pays attention to the rest of the family. They start getting along and understanding. They're in trouble. They still live with each other. And they got to get along. So, in some ways, Max's wish is somewhat coming true. Not everything, though. Not everything. He did not get to spend a lot of time with his sisters, just FYI. Like, he might have spent maybe 20 minutes with her, and then she disappeared for the rest of the movie. Oh, hang on a second. But once, like I said, once you start noticing Max's wish starts coming true, the movie starts making a little bit more sense. But from there, we get this whole, scene where Tom decides to get Howard to go find Beth because it's starting to get late and Beth has to come back yet. And I enjoy this scene because of the fact that it's a little bit of a bonding time between Tom and Howard, which I really like. And we get a little, insight before they leave with Omi. Omi, throughout this movie, ever since the blizzards started happening after the 20-minute mark, she starts acting even weird. Like, she's already a little hesitant. Let me digress for a second. The version of the movie I watched originally did not have the subtitles from when Omi was talking for a majority of the movie. So I had to Google Translate everything she said in the beginning of the movie before I actually bought an actual copy that had the subtitles to it. I don't know why, but just the version I had just didn't have the subtitles. But you can see she starts off a little not fully comfortable with Christmas, but you can see she's just putting on a face, trying to keep face to a degree. And as the movie progresses, she slowly starts getting more and more kind of recluse to the fireplace. Like, she won't leave that fucking fireplace. And then that's when you learn a little bit more about Omi with Krampus. But again, I'll get to that point at some point. So, Omi kind of warns Tom not to leave and saying it's dangerous. They said, it doesn't matter, we'll be right back, Mom, it's no big deal. So they end up leaving, and while they're out there, of course they find a snowplow with the window punched in. They see the houses with the Christmas tree thrown out the window, and like everything just looking dark and grim, just icicles everywhere. The snow is still just coming down, and you know, of course, typical dad. You know, I must check on my kid. You know, let's go find my kid. And they get to the boyfriend's house, and again, it's just dark, creepy atmosphere. It's just, you can sense the cold. You can feel the cold when they walk into this house, because it's just covered in like ice and fucking like snow droplets everywhere. And then we get the iconic moment when they see the chimney, and he goes, it must have been a gas line that blew. And then they look down, and they see the hoof print. And Howard goes, I've hunted a lot of game in my life. That's definitely a goat. And Tom looks at him and goes, what kind of goat walks on his hind legs? Like, that was creepy to me. Like he asks a good question. First of all, actually, there's two questions to that. First of all, who the fuck think there's a goat walking around in a blizzard in the suburbs? And second of all, what kind of goat does walk on his hind legs? But the point is, they sense that there is danger, and then, you know, they hear Beth screaming. So they go and run off to go to save her, but they can't find her. Now, here's something that's also bothered me a little bit. There's something in the snow. We never get to see what's in the snow, but there's some kind of snake creature or something in that snow, because it attacks Howard and then, of course, the family near the end of the movie. But the thing that kind of confused me about the snow creature is that it also ate one of the elves near the end of the movie as well, which I didn't get. Like, I don't get the snow creature under the snow. Like, that's one thing I never did get about them. Like, what is this supposed to be? If there's something I'm missing, please let me know, but I don't really know, to be perfectly honest. That was the only creature that didn't make sense. Like, the toy bear made sense, the Christmas angel made sense, the elves made sense, but something about the snow monster under the snow just never made any kind of fucking sense to me. But, it attacks Howard, and Tom ends up saving him, and they end up running back into the house. And I like the way they dealt with this whole situation, because, you know, Tom saves him. They find out Howard's car, which, by the way, is named Lucinda, because there's a whole dramatic moment when they find the car destroyed, and they're like, and he's just like, Lucinda! You know, he's so upset that his fucking car is destroyed, which I get it, because that was a gas guzzler of a vehicle and probably very expensive. But, you know, they go back to the house, and if I may digress for a second, before they get to the house, we have this really interesting scene where we know Krampus is hanging around the family because they hear shit going up on the roof. And of course, you know, they're trying to be logical. Oh, clearly it's squirrels. It's gotta be an animal and shit. And then it like lands on the house and it shakes the whole house. And of course, Omi, she's looking up the chimney. She's freaking out. She knows what it is, but nobody else does. And of course, Aunt Dorothy says one of my not one of my favorite lines, because my favorite line she says is later on in the movie. But she's just like, oh yeah, squirrels. I bet you they're playing with their nuts or something like that. And they're just like, yeah, sure, totally. Like, totally squirrels. Like, we all know it ain't squirrels. But, you know, I mean, how do you explain that to yourself? Like, there's a blizzard, there's nobody around, people are missing, and there's no strange noises happening. Of course, you're gonna pretend like everything's normal. And again, I was gonna say this before I cut myself off earlier, but once Howard and them get back to the house, I like the way the parents and everybody in that situation handled that. Like, of course, they got the kids out of the room, and they're talking about it. They're like, what happened? I clearly don't know. Like, he even admits that, like, I don't know. Like, granted, he tells the kids, oh, I probably stepped in a bear trap or something. We don't have bears here. Like, shut up, Max. Shut up. Nobody asked you. But they get the kids out, and they're talking about it, and they're like, we don't know. Like, we don't know what to do. And I think that's the most realistic thing I've ever seen come from a horror movie like this. It's the fact that they can honestly admit and look at each other like, we don't know what the hell's going on, but they believe it. They fucking believe it, because something's going on. There's too much weird shit going on for them to disagree with or deny. Like, there's been a lot of horror movies I've seen where, like fucking Devil in Me, fucking Charlie and Jamie find a trail of blood, and Charles is in 100% denial about this blood. He's just like, clearly the groundskeeper brought something in. Clearly something got dragged in here that wasn't a human. It's like, no, bro, weird shit's happening. Admit it. But they can at least admit weird shit's happening. They just don't know how to deal with it. But how do you deal with something like this? So as the night progresses, of course, they decide to stay put because it's like -4 below outside. They're getting frostbite and under like 5 minutes for being out there. So it's not safe for them to go out. So of course they fortify the house and they try their best to, keep the fireplace going, keep the kids safe, try to figure out a plan, what to do, how to find Beth. And of course we get more of Max's wish coming true, with Tom and Howard actually getting along for a little bit. Well, Howard looks at Tom and is just like, hey, listen, man, I'm sorry I thought you were a spineless coward all these years. You did me a solid back there because Tom saved his life. Tom was gonna let that fucking snow monster eat his ass. But no, Tom brought out the gun and was like, boom, 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 got you. I got you, Howard, let's go. But, we get like our first kind of like, I guess, like, proper disappearance besides Beth in front of the rest of the family. Because you know how some of these horror movies are, they have to have that one character disappear or die off screen, and then, like, the rest of the cast gets to see it. So they know, oh, there's some bullshit going on. Well, I have to say, I thoroughly enjoyed this scene. But it's when, everyone's, sleeping in the living room. They're trying to stay warm. And I don't know what time it is. It's late at this point. It's like maybe 1, 2 o'clock in the morning or something like that. And everybody's dead asleep. And the fireplace finally goes out. And then we get this little weird giggle. And then down the chimney comes a fucking chain. A rather obvious, creepy, shouldn't be touched chain with a big ass hook on it. Shouldn't go near it. But there's a cookie, or a gingerbread man cookie, just hanging out on the chain. He's got it like tied to it. And of course, Howard Jr. being the fat kid of the bunch who eats everything. Like, even during the dinner fight, if you look at Howard Jr., that motherfucker was just going ham on that goddamn turkey. But, yeah, he wakes up and he sees the little gingerbread cookie and he eats it. And of course, that's instant death for him. The cookie wakes up and, like, ties him up, and then they try to drag him out the chimney, and then of course everybody wakes up and tries to stop this shenanigans. And poor Toni Collette's character grabs him and is slowly getting pulled up this chimney, and she sees the fucking gingerbread cookie monster, and it looks at her and just goes, that kind of bullshit, and it freaks her the fuck out. Like, as they're pulling her out of the fireplace, she's just just holding on to Howard Jr.'s legs while she's screaming. And then, of course, during the chaos, the fucking Christmas tree gets caught on fire because one of the logs rolls over there. So they're trying to save the kid. The house is almost on fire. Fucking Omi's just like, shit, here we go again. And everybody else is just like, the fuck? But, unfortunately, they don't get to save Howard or Howie Jr., and they lose him. And then, of course, Howard, he's trying to be the man, so he goes to step outside. And unfortunately, he ends up almost catching hands by the elves once he steps outside, but Toni Collette's character stops him, and it's just like, no, don't go outside. Please don't go outside. And, oh God, which one was it? I can't remember which one was it, but they get into an argument about, protecting the flock and shit. I think it might have been Tom and Howard arguing about it. But the point is, they're all arguing about whether or not to go outside, and that's when Omi is just like, listen, I need to talk to you. And this is the first and one of the only times next to the ending when she says Merry Christmas, Mac, that Omi actually speaks English. Throughout this entire movie, Omi speaks purely German, which I appreciate that. I really appreciate that they really kept her native tongue throughout majority of this movie. But I can kind of get why in this instant we needed her to speak English. And we needed her because not everyone can understand German in this family. So I kind of get why they made her speak English for this. But we learned a little bit about Omi and why she knows Krampus. And she tells a story about when she was a little girl. And if I may add, I love the animation they did for the Omi backstory. It is 100% creepy. I would love to see a full movie just like that. I would love to see a full fucking movie with the entire stop motion thing they had going on and the animation and just how dark and creepy it was. I would love to see an entire Krampus movie just made like that. But she tells a story about how her village, when she was a kid, just like Max, lost their spirit of Christmas, and when her and her family got into an argument, she lost her spirit too. So she wished that Krampus would come and just take everybody away. She didn't want them anymore. And so Krampus did. He showed the fuck up. He took the entire town and left her as a reminder. And this is where we get the Krampus little ball as a reminder of never to forget your faith in the spirit of Christmas. And of course, Omi says the iconic phrase, Krampus came not to reward but to punish, not to give but to take, which is the complete opposite of what Santa Claus does. But she's left alive as a reminder of to never lose the spirit of Christmas, and she's left a little bauble. I want to say it's a little bauble. It's a little Christmas bell with Krampus's name on it. It has a little reminder, but she's also the little reminder of don't lose your Christmas spirit. And of course, Howard and his side of the family are like, that's some bullshit. And Tony Collette's like, well, I saw that gingerbread cookie look at me and laugh, so she might have some truth behind this shit. And you know, as the rest of the movie progresses, and you know, everybody else starts disappearing, we have the scene where I think after Omi tells her story and they're trying to figure out, okay, where do we go next from here? We can't just stay fortified here, because they tried fortifying. That's how Howie Jr. Went missing. So what can we do? Well, they start making a plan to, figure out where to go. So they're like, okay, we can go to that snowplow that me and Howard found. Then we can make a trip back here, get everybody in the car, go to the mall, then go to the police station, and get the hell up out of here. But while they're, trying to figure everything out, and Omi's being just really weird, Jordan and fucking Stevie have to go to the bathroom because Aunt Dorothy clogged the toilet up. Now, real quick though, before I get to the rest of that scene, there's a part before they go to the bathroom that I fucking love. And it's one of my favorite lines Dorothy ever said in this movie. But Stevie and Jordan are talking to Omi about Krampus, and they're like, well, what if we've been good all year? Will he still come? And she's like, you know what? It's not what you believe in. And I know it's not whether you've been good or bad, it's what you believe in and the spirit of Christmas that you hold. That's what will protect you. And they're like, okay, well, can we make him go away? And then Omi says something that Max can't translate, because when Omi doesn't have her subtitles, they make Max translate for her, which I can appreciate that, because we as the audience are eavesdropping on their conversation, so we need the subtitles. And when the rest of the family needs to know what's going on, we got Max there and Tom to explain, what Omi has just said. But they ask her this, and she says something in German that they don't understand. And even Max is like, I don't know what she said either, and kind of looks at her. And then Aunt Dorothy, without missing a beat, says, no, she says we're fucked. And they're like, how do you know? And you look back at Omi, and she just goes, yeah, just like kind of agreeing, like, yeah, she's right. I'm basically saying you're fucked. And they're like, well, how do you know that's what she says? Because I'm old enough to realize when life has their pants pulled down at you that you're fucked. I'm like, I love fucking Aunt Dorothy. She is just, oh my god, one of my favorites. She's one of my favorite characters. Granted, I like a lot of the characters in this movie, but Aunt Dorothy's gotta be hands down one of my favorites. But, after that, Jordan and Stevie, they go up to the rest of the house so they can go to the bathroom. They think they hear Beth, so they go to investigate the noise, and of course it's not Beth, it's the fucking Jack-in-the-Box toy. But we don't know that until we get up there. So what ends up happening is that, of course, Howard stays downstairs to protect the rest of the family. Tony Collette's character, Allison's character, and I think it's Adam Scott's character, Tom. So basically, it's Tom, Sarah, and Linda all go upstairs while Howard stays downstairs. And when they get up there, of course, they can't find the girls anywhere. And then we get the big reveal of the Jack-in-the-Box creature. They slowly, I think, if I remember correctly, they point the flashlight and they slowly look up, and you just see this humongous ass Jack-in-the-Box creature just devouring one of the girls and just swallowing it whole like a fucking anaconda would to its prey. And they try to attack, and Jack-in-the-Box toy just start saving the kids. And throughout this whole entire chaos, the rest of the toys start coming to life. Now, something I forgot to add that is actually kind of key importance is in the beginning of the movie, right after the blizzard hits, Howard and them answer the door to the UPS guy, and they get some presents from them. And a sack of the presents are from Krampus. They just don't know this. So they kind of brought the Krampus toys inside the house. So in some ways, they kind of brought it upon themselves by accident, but they still ended up bringing these toys inside the house. So when they see the Jack-in-the-Box, they go to attack. The toys attack them, and it's literally like a robotic toy, the Christmas angel, and a bear. And while they're trying to fight this Jack-in-the-Box and fight this bear and all this shit, and they're losing their asses for a good minute until Linda sees Stevie, and she gets like the mother bear instincts, and she grabs the axe and she starts running. She hits the she grabs the bear, she stabs the bear in the eye with an icicle, I want to say, throws it to the side, picks up the axe, runs at Sarah, chops down the Christmas lights that the angel was using to choke her out with, hits the robot off of Tom's bag, and it goes to go after her, the Jack-in-the-Box. She's like, "Give me back my kid, you fudger!" And then it goes to slam down the axe. Of course, being so dramatic, missing the moment, misses Jack-in-the-Box. But the thing is, because they brought the toys inside the house and then they boarded up the house, the Jack-in-the-Box is stuck in the house. And they can't get out through the front door. They can't even get out through the fireplace because they got the fire going. So this Jack-in-the-Box is now stuck in the house with the fucking kids in their bellies. And this whole time while they're dealing with that bullshit, Howard is downstairs being attacked by the fucking gingerbread man cookies the entire time. And I can't help but laugh. Like, I love this because they're just so adorable. Like, I can't even be mad at these little gingerbread cookie guys. Like, they're just so adorable. Like, I too would try to eat them myself, to be honest. But they go to attack Howard, and they got like a fucking nail gun. They're shooting at him, and they got little sharpened candy canes, and they're attacking him. And at one point, Howard, just being frustrated, ends up shooting something off the counter. I can't remember what it is, but he ends up shooting it off the counter, and it gives like a little mini explosion, right? And the little, you see like a couple of little gingerbread men, they end up falling, and Howard goes to go Merry fucking Christmas, and the little gingerbread cookie men, get up, and then, they end up having this cute little conversation. Like, you can't understand anything they're saying, because it's like, it sounds like that. But they end up trying to attack Howard, and he's out of bullets, and the little gingerbread, goes to stab him with a little candy cane, and he's just like, ah! And then you just hear like a stomp, a sound, like a crunchy sound. And Howard opens his eyes, and there's the fucking dog Rosie. Now, hang on a second. Let me digress for a second, because there's a couple of characters I haven't talked about, which is, of course, Chrissy. Which, I'm gonna be honest, Chrissy was one of those characters, give or take her. She's just the baby. There's really not much to the baby. Like, she doesn't really have many lines or scenes. She doesn't really have any moments that take her away. So that's why I kind of forget about her. But shame on me for forgetting about Rosie. Rosie is played by a wonderful dog named Thor, who, which is absolutely just a fucking treat to have on this movie. Because when Howard's going in the kitchen that first time, he's just like, Rosie, go in there and check it out. And Rosie's just like, no, and just walks off. But this dog ends up becoming fucking hero, though, by the end of it. Damn, I got something in my eye. You know, Rosie eats the cookie, and he's just like, oh, Rosie, good girl. Just good, Rosie. Oh, thank you. And, you know, so they end up all convening back into the living room, and they're like, where's Jordan? You know, where's the other kid? Something's upstairs, and him and Linda end up getting kind of into a standoff of who saw the worst shit. He's just like, what is that? Tell me what we're dealing with here. And she's like, oh, sweetie, you don't want to know. And he's just like, I just got my ass kicked by a bunch of gingerbread men. Trust me, I can handle this shit. And Max ends up sending Rosie into the air vents to get the, you know, the Jack-in-the-Box creature. And unfortunately, Rosie doesn't make it. Which is sad, because you hear her put up a good fucking fight. And then she disappears like everybody else, and then the Jack-in-the-Box creature comes down from the ceiling. And then the rest of the toys start attacking. And then that's when Aunt Dorothy brings out boss-ass bitch mode. And she grabs that shotgun. She starts shooting the fucking, I think it was the Christmas angel, and then the teddy bear. And then Tom looks at her and goes, Aunt Dorothy, finish this. And she's just like, with pleasure. And she goes to shoot the fucking Jack-in-the-Box. And before she could pull that trigger, she hears the howling sound of Krampus, and the little Jack-in-the-Box, you know, just, oh, so happy Krampus here, just starts clapping and getting excited. And fucking Omi knows exactly what the hell's about to happen. She just goes, oh, elves. And then the fucking elves come crashing through the window, and they take Chrissy the baby. And this little clusterfuck right here, I enjoyed this scene, don't get me wrong. I enjoyed this because it was just so fucking hilarious. It was just out there, but I just didn't get the whole thing. And it was, the elves grab Chrissy and go to take her onto the sleigh, or the Jack-in-the-Box. And then they have Aunt Dorothy. And of course, oh shit, hang on. But of course, Aunt Dorothy, she, you know, she gets chained up, and she's just like, well, I'll see you in hell, guys. Ah! Just like yeeted out the fucking window. And fucking Howard's just like twisted fairy tale horror shit, and he just jumps on the Jack-in-the-Box, and he gets pulled off, and Tom's just over there like, Howard, no! Oh, God. Like, he was annoyed that Howard just did that. Just not even upset or shocked. Just, Howard, no. Like, it almost reminds me of, like, Willy Wonka. Where they're like, Mr. Wonka, make him stop. Please, no, stop. Come back. Yeah, it reminds me of that so damn much. But, I just never got that because... And this is where, like, a lot of the theories from this movie come in at. And again, when I get to the ending, I will explain it a little bit more. And it kind of hops in there with one of the theories I have about this movie. But once, you know, Aunt Dorothy disappears, the elves have put out the fireplace, there's a fucking big-ass hole in the side of the wall, so they can't light the fireplace. That's when Krampus shows up. Now, this is the first time we actually get to see Krampus in his entire glory. I'll talk about mask, prosthetic, and all. Like, when we first saw him on the roof and he's chasing Beth, he's afar, of course. You know, we get, like, the big silhouette, the big gorgeous silhouette of this hulking man. Or creature, I should say. And we really don't get to see, like, him up close until this scene, which I can appreciate that adds a mysterious... whimsical mystery about fucking Krampus that we don't get to see until this moment. But you know, of course, you know, here comes Santa Claus, start playing on the radio, and they gotta get the fuck out, and Omi leads them outside and tells Max to be good and closes the door. And it kind of barricades everybody out. And Max goes, you know what? Omi wants to do this for us. Let Omi do this. So, unfortunately, they leave Omi behind. And Omi wants to take this opportunity to confront Krampus. Now, I didn't quite understand why. I guess maybe she was trying to buy time, maybe bargain with Krampus. But she tried to talk to Krampus. And Krampus, of course, we had this beautiful intro to him. I'm not gonna lie, it was one of my favorite intros to see of a villain. Especially as someone as iconic as Krampus. It was really cool. Because we get, you know, of course, like I said, you know, here comes Santa Claus, here comes Santa Claus, you know. And mixed with the dramatic, like, intense music that they added to add that extra flair, as you see, like, the cracks from the chimney starts forming as he slowly comes down. Of course, smoke comes out of the chimney of the fireplace. And then we get the head of Krampus first, which, of course, basically to describe Krampus, of course, he's the shadow of St. Nicholas. As everybody knows, Krampus' origin, he's the shadow of St. Nicholas. And his design in this one is that he looks like Santa Claus with the robe that is over his fucking head, and it's got the little trimmings and all that, and it's red. It's really nice, by the way. It looks very velvety almost. Like, it's really fucking nice. And of course, he's got goat legs, and he's got these humongous ass horns. But what really adds a interesting depth to Krampus's look is that his face is like a it's like taking Santa Claus's face and putting it together with Ghostface's mask. It's just creepy. It's like an elongated jaw, and you see his eyes, and it's just a elongated jaw with a gaping mouth wide open. And of course, they had to add the nasty factor and give him a CGI tongue, which I'm not bitching about, I'm not complaining about. I thought it was a very nice touch for Krampus that he had that tongue. And it adds a kind of a gross factor to him. But, and then of course, you know, besides his face, he has the chains around him with all the little jingle bells and stuff. So he really, like, emulates the complete opposite of Santa Claus. Like, he's very intimidating, very creepy, and he literally looks just like Santa Claus, but in like a 10 times creepier factor of Santa Claus. But that's one of the first times we get to see him, and his long fucking hands and just the weird claws he's got. And he goes up to Omi, who's sitting there just staring at him, and she confronts him. You know, she doesn't say anything, but she stands her ground. She's just like, I'm not scared of you anymore. And of course, Krampus is like, oh, that's cute. Look inside my toy box. And poor Omi. She ends up getting killed and or disappears by Krampus with the toys from the toy box. And again, this one kind of happens off screen with a jump scare, but that's a lot of the deaths. I want to say something that really could have added a lot of like scary facts to it is if they would have made it rated R. I want to say this movie was PG-13, which makes sense, especially the fact that he wanted a Christmas comedy horror. Okay, let me phrase that. They wanted a horror Christmas comedy for the family. And this movie really feels like a family movie because there's not a lot of cussing in it. There's not a lot of blood in it. There's, you know, yeah, it's a horror movie with fucking Krampus who's making people disappear or killing them. But it ain't grotesque. It ain't gory. It ain't out there. It's actually not a bad. Like, I'm not saying let your little kids watch it. Don't let like your 5-6-year-old watch it because Krampus might give them nightmares. But for like a 14-year-old, 15-year-old, you know, a teenager, it would be a nice movie to watch as a family because, you know, it does bring the message of Christmas to keep the spirit of Christmas and family bonds and virtues and stuff. So it fits in with the family thing you would watch, you know. So I say, you know, watch Home Alone, then watch Krampus, you know. It's the same fucking movie almost. Or same ideals in the movie. But once Omi, unfortunately, disappears, we have this like back-to-back disappearance of Linda and Sarah, where they're trying to leave the rest and Tom. They're trying to leave the rest of the family out of the house. You know why Omi confronts Krampus, And Tom, and at first, when I first watched this movie, there was a lot of this movie I didn't quite understand at first when I watched this movie, but it takes multiple rewatchabilities and many, outside the thinking perspectives for you to kind of maybe understand a little bit about this movie. But as, they're trying to get to the snowplow, Tom decides to stay behind and try to shoot whatever the snake creature thingy that's in the snow that bit Howard earlier in the movie. He tries to have a standoff with it, and he ends up losing. And what's really sad is he ends up running, after, telling bye to everybody, oh, Max, I love you. Oh, Sarah, I love you. Send them off their way. And, he's shooting at the monsters and all that. And he runs out of bullets. And he just kind of accepts his fate. And that's something I noticed definitely with Tom and Sarah's disappearance / deaths in this movie, is that they accept their fates. And in some way, I feel like Howard accepted his fate, and so did Aunt Dorothy. And again, I have my theories about that, and I'll get to there in a minute. But, Howard accepts his fate, or not Howard, but Tom accepts his fate, and just lets the creature take him. And unfortunately, Linda, trying to get the kids up there, she gets her foot caught by the snake creature, and she gets taken. And then Sarah, after she puts the kids up, she gets bit. You hear the bite. You hear the and you just see the look on her face when she looks at Max, and she just goes, I love you. And then she disappears. And that one really, hit me in the face, because, those are strange last words to have. To a degree. Just, I love you. You could have said 1,000 things, and that's what you said. But it's a mother thing. It's a mother thing. She, like Tom, accepted her fate. She knew she was not going to make it out of this. As soon as that thing bit her, she knew she was fucked. She knew she was not making it. And so what is the last thing you want to tell somebody that you love? And that is, I love you. And especially to your own kid. You want them to know, I love you. So, it's very impactful that that the parents kind of accepted their fate and let these things happen to them after a while. And then, of course, Max, and I gotta laugh at this part too. So, the parents are all gone. Just Max and Jordan left, or Max and Stevie. I can't remember which twins left, to be honest. But they're trying to start the snowplow, and he's just like, it won't start. Come on, Max, come on, just keep going. I don't even know how to drive a stick. That is the most realistic thing I think I ever heard someone trying to start a car before. He's honest. He's just like, I'm gonna start this car, but I have no clue how to drive a fucking stick. But in the process of trying to start the car, it doesn't start. They end up pulling the last cousin out. And again, this is where I wrapped around with the I don't get this snow creature thingy. While he's trying to grab Max ends up pushing the elf off of him. And the elf falls into the snow and then gets taken away by the snake creature. Which I didn't get. I really didn't get that. But apparently that happened. The elf got yeeted by his own creature. So, Max, in a fit of, frustration and annoyance and anger, he steps out and he's screaming. I think it was Stevie, by the way. I think it was Stevie, if I remember correctly. Again, I could be wrong. I can't remember exactly which cousin it was. But as he's screaming for his cousin, Krampus, of course, shows the fuck up and extends his hand down and just drops something. And, of course, it's the Christmas bauble. It's the Krampus bell. And it's wrapped up in Max's torn letter. And it's basically Krampus going, I have fulfilled your wish. There's your wish. You spent time with your family. Everyone got along. You're good. Peace out. And he walks off. And it leaves Max standing there with Omi listening, or Omi's voiceover about Krampus. No, wait. No, I think that, I take that back. I think that just leaves with just a cold chill in the air. I don't know. I call it the false ending because it makes you think that the movie could and probably did originally end there. but then probably test screen the audience, you know, they wanted a different ending or something. I'm not quite sure, but it looks like it should have ended there, but it didn't. So we get back to Max after that moment, and he's walking, and he sees Krampus with his cousin, and Krampus opens this big ass portal of, I'm assuming, to hell, in the middle of the road. No, wait, hang on. So it was, again, I keep saying this, but I gotta laugh at this, and it wasn't because of what happened in the movie, it was because of who I was watching this movie with, which made this scene funny as hell. Little backstory real quick. When I watched this movie like the second or third time, I had a friend of mine with me, and we were stoned off our asses. I'm not gonna lie, we were stoned. We were smoking some weed. We were hella stoned. And this is how the scene, you know, plays out. You know, Max sees Krampus, and he's like, you know, and he sees like the portal, whatnot. No, he sees Krampus. He goes, "Hey, asshole!" And Krampus turns around to look at him. Well, the moment he goes, "Hey, asshole," and Krampus turns around, my buddy, I shit you not, without missing a beat, he hears, "Hey, asshole!" And he just turns to me and goes, "Huh?" So anytime I see Krampus turn his head after that scene, all I can hear is my buddy just go, "Huh?" So I always bust out laughing during that part. But, you know, he throws the little ball and opens the portal hell. I'm sorry. The thing that he sees originally is some kind of, I guess, weird parade Krampus has got going on. But when he throws the ball, the portal to hell opens up, basically. And, you know, Max says he wants to take his wish back. He takes it all back. Like, he didn't mean it. Like, he's sorry. And he goes to bargain with Krampus, and he's just like, "Krampus, listen, man, I'm sorry, you know, I just wanted Christmas to be what it is, take me instead." And then, of course, you know, Max, you know, being a kid, being through this terrible situation, he's just crying his fucking little eyes out, and then Krampus, you know, takes his hand and wipes the little tear, and then we have like a little eye-to-eye contact, and it makes you feel like maybe Krampus understands Max, maybe Krampus is thinking about it. Maybe Krampus really, you know, thinks Max learned his lesson, you know, maybe I can give him back his family. But no. That is all dashed away in a matter of 1.7 seconds when after they make that beautiful eye contact with each other, fucking Krampus just starts hysterically laughing, and then all his toy buddies start laughing, and then they just throw the cousin into the pits of hell. And then Max, of course, screams, and then Krampus grabs him by the top of the head and holds him. And he's just like, "Krampus, I'm sorry, I wanted everything to be like it used to be." And then Krampus drops him, and he falls, and he screams. And then the next scene, he wakes up, and it's Christmas morning. And he, of course, you know, it's a beautiful day outside. He wipes the window. You see beautiful, just regular snow, by the way, not a blizzard this time, but regular snow. Everything's back to normal. He goes downstairs, and of course, you have a beautiful rendition of "Having a Very Merry Christmas." I didn't catch which version of it, but we had a very beautiful moment. Which, if I may also add think about the music, I forgot to add this during the part where where Tom and Sarah and all of them got taken. The song Silent Night is playing, and it's the creepiest rendition of Silent Night I've ever heard. Like I said, something about Christmas music and horror movies just hit fucking right when, like, turning like one thing down or one thing up or pitching something, but it just makes a Christmas horror movie very horror-like. But, you know, he gets downstairs, though, and he sees that it's his entire family there. Everybody's there. There's Beth, there's Jordan, there's Stevie, there's Howard, there's Rosie even, little Chrissy, you know, everybody's here. And everybody's alive, and it's normal, and they're like, "Max, you know, oh, I'm glad you're here, let's open up some damn presents now." So they start opening up the presents and passing them around, and, you know, Max is like, "Oh, everything was just a dream," you know, hugs his mom, hugs his dad, you think everything's good, and so Max gets his first present. Max gets his box, and he goes to open it, and guess what's inside the box? It is the Krampus ball. And while he's looking at the Krampus ball, we get a pan shot of looking at everybody in the family, and a voiceover of all the incidents that happened over the last couple of days. You know, the voiceover of nothing bad can happen to us at Christmas, or, you know, Beth saying this. You know, it was just like scenes or voiceovers being played over of everything that happened to him over the last 3 days. And it's like it all came back to them, like they were like, that wasn't a bad dream. It really happened. And then and this is where the ending gets very confusing. So once we have that moment, Here Comes Santa Claus starts playing on the record player automatically, and then the fire kind of cooks up a little bit, and we pan out from the window as we're watching the family look out the window. And as we pan out, we go through a snow globe, and it turns out the family's house is inside of a snow globe inside of Krampus's lair. And it ends with Krampus, you know, putting the snow globe on the table. And we pan out, and we just see the collection of all the snow globes Krampus has in his entire collection. And then, of course, it ends with the jump scare of all the toys. So, that's the end of the movie. So let me give you my theories and thoughts about this movie. Okay. So the way I take it, I mean, I really don't know how to take it, to be honest. One theory is this whole movie was purgatory. Like they're wound up they're in Krampus's lair, and this is purgatory, and that it's either they're forever stuck celebrating Christmas every day for the rest of their life, because that was Max's wish, that, you know, they can spend Christmas like it used to be. So every day they have to wake up to Christmas stuck in Krampus's lair, or the way I've also heard it is that the entire events from when the blizzard took place, or actually I think it was even before, it was literally like the 3 days before Christmas, and basically the entire movie is a purgatory story where they repeat the same few days over and over and over and over again. This is why everybody kind of accepts their fate. You know, Howard, oh, fuck this fairy tale horse shit. Fucking Tom, just, I love my family, disappears. You know, Aunt Dorothy, I'll see y'all in hell. You know, that bullshit. It could be the fact that it is a purgatory on repeat. Now, I don't believe that. I just think it's just adults accepting the fact that they're gonna die. They're just gonna die. Like, there's no fighting this. Like, how do you fight against a mythical creature and its fucking elves? You don't. You fucking don't. But another way you could take it is, you know, they're either, the movie was an entire purgatory story. At the end of the movie, they're stuck in purgatory, or you can take it as, you know, Krampus basically is just watching them. Like, throughout the rest of their lives, Krampus will always forever be watching them and will always be looming around. And I would say in some ways I kind of agree with that ending, because of the fact that he gave Max the Krampus ball. And Max was willing to make a trade. You know, just, hey man, take my life instead. Do this instead. But the reason why I, in some ways, can't fully hop on board with that particular ending is because, again, what Omi says. Krampus came not to reward, but to punish. Not to give, but to take. And Krampus gave Max his wishes, and then just said, here's the Krampus ball. Don't lose your Christmas spirit again. That doesn't fit to what Krampus would do, because Krampus here is to punish. And maybe in some aspects, the entire 3 days of the entire incident was just punishment. That was his punishment, you know. You must sit there and now watch every one of your family members you ever love die in front of you, or disappear, or give their life up. I mean, I don't know, like I said, there's so many opportunities, or so many ways you could interpret this ending, because that's something I love about this movie, is the ending. The fact that it could be literally however you perceive it. And I perceive it in several different ways. Like I said, I see it as the purgatory ending where, you know, this is his punishment. He got his wish, but this is also his punishment. This ain't his reward, this is his punishment. He's now forever stuck on Christmas morning with his family. Either, you know, but I also can believe the fact that the 3 days leading up to Krampus showing the fuck up was his punishment, and this is just the warning letting him know, I'm watching you. Because it fits in with the Santa Claus lore, where the fact, you know, he knows when you're sleeping, he knows when you're awake, he knows when you've been bad or good. Krampus knows when you are asleep, knows when you're awake, knows when you give up on the Christmas spirit or not. And the fact of the matter is, he could be just watching them. He really could just be watching them. As a reminder. But then, you know, what's with all the rest of the collection? Like, is he just watching them? What was their punishment? Because with Omi, she lost her entire fucking family. But that was also her wish. Her wish was for them to go away. And Krampus fulfilled that wish. So maybe actually, you know what? Maybe the watching ending does make a little bit more sense now that I'm thinking about it. Because Omi, you know, that was her wish, that her family would just go away. She even says that in the movie, I wish they would go away. I wish everybody would just go away. Where Max, being selfless, wanted, you know, his family to spend time together, which they did throughout the movie. And he wanted, you know, everyone to get along, which they did at the end of the movie. You know, as the movie progressed, we saw Max's wishes come true. So, yeah, I don't know. I might bring that one up to Bidwell, because we originally were going to talk about this movie, but he got caught up doing something, so unfortunately he did not get to participate in this one, which is disappointing, because I know he too likes the director of Trick or Treat, and he actually thoroughly enjoys this movie as much as I do. And again, like I said before, this is one of my favorite Christmas movies to put on every year. I watch this every year. I at least watch it twice a year, or twice on December. Because it's just one of my all-time personal favorites. And like I said, I'm not really a big fan of a lot of comedy horrors. Because to me, I notice a lot of comedy horrors, they have more comedy, the horror elements to it. It's more like, like Tucker and Dale. Now, I'm not saying I don't like that movie, but I'm saying, like, with Tucker and Dale, you know, where it's, you think it's the, you know, this dumb idiot is the fucking killer, or people think this dumb idiot is the fucking killer, but it turns out, no, he's just a dumb idiot at the wrong place at the wrong time. Well, with Tucker and Dale versus Evil, it was the typical cliche, dumb teenagers thinking they're murderers, and they're literally just at the wrong place at the wrong time, which works well. But I've seen it where a lot of movies try to emulate the same aspect, and it just comes off more as a fucking comedy than like a comedy horror. And this is why I really don't like a lot of comedy horrors. It's like, if I want to watch a comedy, I'll put on a fucking comedy. Like, I want to watch something scary with some funny jokes in it. And that's what Krampus to me is. A scary movie with realistic adult jokes in it. Like, I'm sorry, I still, you know, feel like the parents and everybody knew what their deaths were, knew that they weren't going to survive this. So when they're like, I'll see you in hell, and gets yeeted out the window, and Howard jumping, you know, again, fuck this fairy tale horse shit bullshit. That's funny as hell. But that is very realistic as fuck, you know. There would be some family members that's like, you know what, I'm just done with this shit. I can't deal with this shit anymore. Krampus can fucking kill me. I don't care. And fucking get the hell up. And I can appreciate that. But with the ending, though, you can interpret it as however you feel like it's necessary to interpret it. You know, to each their own when it comes to open interpretations to movies endings. But with this one, you know, I never really was sure about how to take the ending. You know, I originally took it as the purgatory ending, but now that I sit here and I start thinking about it, I'm saying it out loud, maybe it is the fact that his punishment was the 3-day journey to Christmas, and yeah, Krampus, you know, that was his punishment. That was his punishment, and his reward is to not die. That's his reward, not to die. And that might actually make sense. I don't know, because again, like, I kind of do like the purgatory ending where it's, you know, Max gets his wish. This is it. This is what you're going to be doing for the rest of your life, stuck in a snow globe, and Krampus' fucking lair. But there's so many ways you can interpret the ending. But I frankly, I don't know. Like, I'm torn between the two now. Originally, I was heavily weighing more upon the purgatory ending, but now that I sit here and think about it, maybe the 3-day punishment ending makes more sense. I don't know. I really don't know, to be honest. But yeah, so you can literally just take the ending however you want it. There's no wrong way to take the ending. Just as long as you enjoy it and you love it, that's all that really matters at the fucking end. Is if you enjoy the movie. You can take the ending however you want. Now, I will say there have been some movies where the ending ruins the entire fucking movie for me. I'm not going to mention names, but there's a Stephen King movie dealing with a lot of mist. And I'm going to be honest. I hated the mist ending. I absolutely hated it. And only for one motherfucking reason. And it wasn't the fact that the dude killed his entire family and then the army shows up. It's not even that. It's the fact that fucking cunt of a bitch who was all into the fucking reckoning of God and shit, that over Bible thumping Christian bitch, she survives. She survives. I would have been perfectly alright if the ending played out as long as that bitch didn't survive. But no, they literally had to add that little insult to injury, and that's what makes me hate that fucking movie. Anytime it comes on, I turn it off and go, I don't feel like wasting my fucking time today. Sorry, not sorry. I said it. I hate the mist ending. I hate it. I like the book ending better because the book ending leaves it to interpretation, where you can decide whether or not the family actually lived or not. But yeah, I like endings like that where you can interpret the ending however you can. Now there's some movies like the movie Stay. It's not a horror movie, but it is one of those weird fucking ending movies that you can interpret. So it's like the movie like Inception. You interpret the ending however you want, as long as you enjoy the movie and it feels right to you. You know, everyone can have their own ideals and ideas of how the movie ended. Like, to the small number of people I've talked to about this movie, I've heard like 4 or 5 different theories about how this movie ends. So like I said, we've got the purgatory ending, the 3-day punishment ending. Somebody said that this is just Max's hell, that the family and all of that ain't even really there at the end of the movie. That's just him stuck in hell. And that the family is a part of his punishment. Like, they're not really there. It would never be them. It would be a hollow, weird version of his family. Oh, God. What was another ending I've heard? Of course, it's all a dream scenario because of the fact that Max wakes up out of the bed. That the whole movie would have been a dream, and that the ball was a warning from Krampus, letting him know, hey, next year you lose your Christmas spirit, man. I'll be coming for that ass. I'm gonna clap those cheeks, man. But yeah, like I've heard like several different ways that the ending can be interpreted, but like I said, I don't know now. Now I was on the purgatory ending category, where, you know, the whole movie ends with them stuck in purgatory for the rest of their life, or technically Krampus' purgatory for the rest of their lives. But now that I sit there and I think about it and go through all my notes and rewatching the movie yet again, maybe that the 3-day punishment thing, that is Krampus punishing him, and his reward is not dying. Krampus took what he said to a degree to his heart. Like, he, of course, laughs at Max, when Max is like, take me instead. And he's like, all right, fine, I'll fucking take your ass too. We're all going to hell. But that could have been Krampus being an asshole and maybe teaching him a lesson that not everybody's going to forgive you, man. So be careful what you wish for. Be careful what you ask for. And, you know, like I said, with the endings, take it however you want, man. Take it however the fuck you want. I personally, I don't know. I'm going to have to rewatch it with a couple more people, and we're going to have to bounce some ideas around. Because, yeah, like I said before, I am now on the fence on this goddamn ending. I thought I was set in stone on how I was going to do this ending, but now I'm not. Now I am not sure. Do I have any other things? Yeah, that was about it. The last note I have is the question mark about the deaths. Just, did they really die? And it's just one of those, I don't know. I have no fucking clue. But I feel like this is a really good Christmas movie. This is one of my favorite Christmas movies. I like it. Actually, I'll watch this one a lot more. I watch a lot of horror Christmas movies, to be honest. Like, I still watch, you know, Home Alone and, you know, Christmas Carol and all that. You know, the classics and shit. But I do try to find me some Christmas horror movies to throw in there. Personal favorite, like I said, this one. Gremlins, the original Black Christmas, Silent Night, Deadly Night, the original one, and the mid-2000 remake. Which, unfortunately, I don't think this year I'm going to be talking about Silent Night, Deadly Night. Granted, there's a lot of controversy behind that movie, especially around the time it came out. But, yeah, no, this year I think I'm going to talk about Gremlins, because I personally love Gremlins. Gremlins is one of my absolutely favorite Christmas movies because it's fucking adorable and shit. And then, of course, the original Black Christmas, which is just an icon in horror history. It was one of the first kind of mysterious stalker movies, you know. It had the iconic, the call is coming from inside the house situation that I think even predated When a Stranger Calls. I want to say, I could be wrong. I have to look up some information about that when I do my Black Christmas review and discussion. But yeah, I suggest watching Krampus at least once. If you haven't watched it, go ahead and watch it, man. Like, I really suggest Krampus because it's a fun movie. It really is. It's a treat. It's a delight. Like, and you can never go wrong. Like I said, it is oddly, weirdly enough, a family movie. Like, there's not that much cursing, if any. I think they might say, like, shit or damn. You know, they don't drop, like, the F-bomb every, like, 10 seconds like a Rob Zombie movie. And there's not a lot of blood when they die or disappear, you know. We get, like, the scare factor, but, you know, we don't get the gruesomeness behind these deaths, especially coming from a lot of the fucking toys. Like, you would think, you know, like with the teddy bear, that motherfucker actually bleeds green. Now, fun fact that I learned about Hollywood when it comes to green blood is the reason why they choose green is because it's just easier to work with. Of course, you know, MPA, they see red, they think blood, and there's too much of it, they'll just, you know, rated R, you know. And I feel like Michael Daughter, I feel like he didn't want to make a rated R Christmas movie. I feel like he wanted a actual family movie because he did the same thing with Trick or Treat. It's not really a pure on horror movie, but it's something you can watch with the family. And again, I don't mean with your little kids. Like, for the heavens above, do not let your 5 or 6 year old, anybody under the age of maybe 8 to 10 watch this movie. And 10's at the highest. I feel like about 11, 12 years old, I think they might be okay. I don't know. It depends on your child, to be honest. But I feel like for like a teenager, especially nowadays, like I could probably sit down with my mom and my 13-year-old sister and watch this movie, and she would enjoy it. She wouldn't be scared by it, because I can't say there are some spooky, creepy parts. Again, the whole chase scene with Beth, the first time Krampus comes down that chimney and confronts and is confronted by Omi. You know, there's a lot of creepy, like, weird creepiness, you know. But it's not overly gory, it's not overly, like, sexual. There's actually no sex in this movie at all, which I can appreciate that. A good family movie that's horror, that doesn't have a shit ton of sex and F-bombs, love it. because you don't get to see that too much anymore. A lot of PG-13 horror movies, but unfortunately, the reason why is because a lot of PG-13 horror movies don't do that good, and it's because they, having be PG-13, they gotta cut out a lot of the good shit. But for Krampus, it works. For Krampus, it works in its favor. Like, let's take the remake, and I don't mean the 2005 remake, I mean the 2019 remake of Black Christmas. Shitty fucking movie all the way. 100% hated it. I wanted to gouge my eyes out about halfway through this movie because the whole message of it was, women are the boss and men suck. Yes, because we didn't get that when we watched Charlie's Angels. Gotcha. But the point is, this movie was bad because they had opportunity to actually make it kind of good. Even though it was an entire political statement. It was bullshit and boring. But they, could have, maybe brought it back a little bit with some of the death scenes and shit. But no, like a typical PG-13 horror movie, it cuts away from all the death and good parts. And sadly, we don't even get to see the bodies. Like, we don't even get to see the mangled upsettingness of the bodies. Now, with Krampus, it makes sense because, they're all inside the Jack-in-the-Box. But with something like Black Christmas, it just doesn't fucking work. But it works for Krampus because I don't really know why it works for Krampus where it doesn't work with a lot of other Christmas horror movies. Or technically PG-13 horror movies in general. But it works well for Krampus. And I can actually appreciate that. So don't dog this movie because it's PG-13. Do not dog this movie. Because, nowadays you tell someone, oh, it's a horror movie. Oh, it's rated R? No, it's PG-13. They kind of frown. Like, really? Because we all know PG-13 horror movies. Like I said, it cuts away from all the good shit. Like, let's take Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. That's a PG-13 horror movie. And I feel like it did very well with a lot of the kills and stuff. Like the death of that one kid with the scarecrow, with the hay coming out of his mouth and shit. That was creepy as fuck. So it can be done correctly and well, but you gotta know what you can and cannot show. And I will say Krampus, I think, gets around that because, again, the gruesomeness we see is literally like the Jack-in-the-Box fucking eating the kids, or the bear toy, it's bleeding green ooze. He ain't bleeding red. He's just green ooze. But, I highly do recommend this movie because it's just a fun Christmas movie. It's a fun Christmas movie, a fun horror Christmas movie. If you're a fan of the Legend of Krampus and you want to see kind of a darker, not so gimmicky version of Krampus, I say watch this movie, because there's a lot of Krampus movies out there I've seen where, what was that one movie that came out around the same time as this one? It was also called Krampus, but it was like this weird fucking story where, Santa Claus is trying to kill Krampus, but on his way there, it's like an anthology kind of movie where we see different stories as it progresses. We see Santa Claus getting closer to Krampus to kill him, and people are dying and blah 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 and all this bullshit. And it turns out in the end, none of it was real. The guy who we thought was Santa Claus is just a deranged motherfucker who just snapped, and he killed everybody. And so what we saw was everything through his eyes, which means he was an unreliable narrator. Which means everything we saw was a complete fucking farce. And they really hammed up the Krampus character by giving him the full goat design. Like, he didn't even look like the shadow of Saint Nicholas. Like, you can literally put a picture of Krampus next to a picture of, like, the Lamia or something, and they'll look exactly identical. Like, they looks just like a fucking demon. He doesn't look like Krampus. And that's where a lot of Krampus designs fail at, is that they forget that he is the shadow of Saint Nicholas. So maybe take some more inspiration from Santa Claus than just make him a demon, because he ain't just strictly a fucking demon. He's a demon with a look, and the look is Santa Claus. But again, because he's got to be a demonic Santa Claus, he's very creepy. And like I said, he's got the elongated face and the fucking hooded robe. And he even got the little hunchback because, you know, Santa's always carrying the fucking bag. So they give him a little hunchback. And he got the chains and bells and whistles and shit. So I can appreciate this actual design, because they take some inspiration from like source material from actual drawings and shit from other versions of Krampus throughout the entire world that people have seen and drawn and shit. So I can appreciate this look of Krampus. I really enjoy this look of Krampus compared to a lot of other, you know, Krampus movies where they literally just make Krampus look like a full-on fucking demon. This was a nice touch. This was a really nice touch. And like I said, it's one of my favorite Christmas movies. And I highly, highly recommend it. I suggest if you've never seen it, give it a shot, guys. Like, seriously, give it a shot. I can't speak more highly about this movie than anything else because this movie is just fantastic. It's one of my favorites. One of my favorite Christmas movies. It's got amazing music, amazing scenery, amazing set design. The acting is fucking great. It's funny. It's got some spooky moments. It's just really creepy all the way around. So, I do believe, you know, I could gush all fucking day about this movie because, like I said, it's one of my favorite Christmas movies. But I think this would probably be a good time to end the stream. Granted, I know it's about 20 minutes early, but at this point, I done rambled on and on and on as much as I could. And unfortunately, without having somebody debate with me about, you know, a lot of this stuff, I can't really, you know, think of any other things to do. I'm not sure which one I want to do next week, to be perfectly honest. I don't know if I want to do Gremlins or Black Christmas. I might do Gremlins and leave Black Christmas for closer to Christmas. Like, I don't plan on doing a stream, I think, for Christmas. Let me look at the dates real quick. Let's see. We got Krampus this week and Gremlins. Actually, I might be able to do one more, so I could do Silent Night, Deadly Night. I don't know. I will have to see how the schedule comes up, but yeah, I mean, I hate to say it, there's not a lot of Christmas horror movies that I could technically talk about and review. I mean, there are some. Don't get me wrong. There are some. Like, of course, we got the most famous one, you know, Jack Frost, and I don't mean the fun. Oh god, I think it's Michael Keaton movie. Is that who plays in that movie? Now I'm talking about the scary one about the serial killer who gets turned into a fucking snowman, and he's like it had the iconic scene where the woman died being fucked by a carrot in the bathtub. Man, that might be a fun movie review. I don't know. I might do Jack Frost. I don't know. I'll have to figure it out. But once again, guys, I will say, check out Krampus. It's a fun, great movie. It's got some fantastic actors in it. It's directed well. It's written well. They're very likable characters, very believable characters, a very believable family, and, you know, all the way around, it's just a really good fucking movie. But, like I said, I'm going to go ahead and end the stream here. I hope everybody who has watched will... hang on a second. God damn, this cold weather has fucked with my nose. My sinuses are just dripping. Alright, guys, I'm going to go ahead and end the stream here. I hope everybody who has watched, is watching, will watch. I hope you enjoy. I hope everybody has a fantastic and a wonderful night. And as you're watching this video on wherever devices you're watching this at, YouTube, Spotify, where the hell ever, I hope you have a fantastic and a wonderful night. And I'll be back sometime next week. Originally, I wanted to do a stream earlier this week, but things did not pan out the way I wanted it. It's been a very stressful couple of weeks in my personal life, so I just didn't get a chance this week. But next week I'm gonna try, and hopefully the bitrate holds up, but next week I will get on and probably play The Devil in Me for you guys. I know it's been a while since I've done some gaming. I kind of want to get back into some of my gaming streams. I think I took a long enough break, but yeah, I think I might start off next week with Devil in Me. I don't know what day I want to start that, and I don't know which days I want. I know Wednesday for sure, but I don't know if I want to do like a Monday, Wednesday, Thursday thing, or a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday thing. I don't know. But I want to at least get 2 days a week for gaming and my 1 day for the podcast. And I think that seems fair, to be perfectly honest. I think that seems fair. You know, it gives me time to spend with people who are really butthurt and upset because I just spend all my time streaming and gaming with everybody. Gives me time to do any of my extra editing and shit like that. But yeah, we'll just have to see how the rest of the time pans out. Hopefully things get better for me so I'm not so stressed out, especially with work. But we will have to see. And like I said, next week, I don't know if I want to do Gremlins or Black Christmas. I might do Gremlins and then Jack Frost and then maybe Black Christmas. That should keep us up for the rest of the month, at least on the podcast then. But this is all a story for another day. So until then, my friends, y'all take care. And again, guys, I'm sorry for some of the technical difficulties I had. I know starting the stream, y'all can probably hear my fucking roommate pull up, and it's surprising enough, you could be sitting in this room. He could pull up on the phone. You can hear clearly what he's talking about on the phone. So I don't know if y'all heard that shit or not. And again, I'm sorry that I started my intro somewhere in the middle of the video. I hit a button. I went to move my vape, and I think I hit the space button, the space bar by mistake, and ended up starting it. And then you realize it until I looked over, and I was like, wait a minute, why is that going? So I do apologize for that midway through the stream. But like I said, guys, it's a story for another day. So until then, my friends, y'all take care.